Today, so much heartfelt love for my fellow Asian Pacific Islander folk here, and of course, all you Black African American folk here on Turtle Island who have given us the blueprint of liberation. And the indigenous people who have stewarded over this land for generations. We will not be here as Asian Pacific Islander people without the work, their struggle that they have given onto us. Can I get a clap for that real quick? Thank you. There is no Asian Pacific Islander liberation without Black African liberation and indigenous sovereignty and through abolition. Do we agree with that? Oh, we're good. Okay, I have a public speaker on so I can project, but we're good, I guess. Okay, we're good? I apologize for that. I'm actually immunocompromised, got my first shot. I've not really been OTG till now. I've been hibernating, and I'm here right now. Thank you. Pretty happy about that. First off, repeat after me for all you Asian Pacific Islander folk. I am not your model minority. Screw white supremacy. On that note, I want to make sure that as Asian Pacific Islander people, we are acknowledging some of the recent events upon every tragedy that's unfolded. In Indiana, we've recently seen the loss of 8 lives on April 16th to a gunman at a FedEx center. 90% of employees were Sikh or something, Sikh Indians, South Asians. They're Asian people too. Their struggles oftentimes are separated from ours as Pacific Islander, East and Southeast Asian people, and that is not acceptable. Absolutely not. Whether you consider yourself a yellow Asian or brown Asian or black Asian, because yes, they exist. Even me, you're Asian with some adjacency to whiteness here. We are all here for abolition. And I want to lead a quick note from a Sikh coalition that actually this week, just days after the cherished Sikh holiday of Vaisakhi, was this mass murder. A holiday that commemorates the collective growth of the faith since 1699. Today there are over 10 sites of worship, gurdwaras, and over 10,000 Sikhs in Indiana. For a tight-knit community, this is absolutely devastating. And I'd like just a quick few moments of silence for that. Thank you so much. Today, as such a diverse crowd, I want us to understand that to be an Asian or Pacific Islander person on this land is not one to ever serve the wedge that was established for us. If you can see my shirt here, I've got both Yuri Kochiyama and Malcolm X, 2 revolutionaries who are often used as the picture for Black and Asian solidarity. For someone like Yuri, who had lived through the concentration camps, Malcolm X, who dealt with the infighting, the politics, the infiltration of COINTELPRO, we will not allow any actor, whether it be the chuds in the street, whether it be the police, the FBI, or anyone, to divide us from organizing in solidarity. We have a lot of ground to cover today, and I will be speaking later. I'm going to pass off the mic real quick for that acknowledgement to Sunshine over here. Oh, sorry? Different one there.
Hello. I go by Sunshine, and right now I would just like us to take a moment and acknowledge that we're on unceded Duwamish Coast Salish land. And land acknowledgement, that's not where it ends, that's where it starts. It ends with land back. And so we just need to respect that where we are, and you can do that everywhere you go by knowing where you stand, what colonizers did. So I would also like to invite, as we're starting, everyone to take like 10 steps forward and huddle up close, or to where we're speaking. We're a community. Feel free to continue practicing social distancing within your comfort zone, but feel free to come a bit closer. Thank you.
For those of you just tuning in, we are live. We are in Seattle. This is the Stop Asian Hate and Solidarity March for the API community. And I thank you for joining us.
I'm a
magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Hello everyone, thank you all for being here today. I am here as a part of a group of, we're not a group, we're just some members of the community from the Asian Pacific Island community here in Seattle, who come from all different backgrounds, from the Philippines, India, Japan, Singapore, everywhere in between, countless beautiful countries. We come from different backgrounds and cultures, each beautifully unique, but we are all united announcing anti-Asian violence. From the streets we walk here in Seattle to our barrios back in our homelands and the lands of our ancestors, U.S. imperialism has spawned anti-Asian violence that manifests across the globe, especially affecting our most vulnerable groups and communities. So that's just a quick hello. We're just a group of kids here at Seattle, kids from all walks of life who saw everything that was going on and decided we will not be silent and that we will speak up and gather a community and say that we will not take this. So I am just here to give some housekeeping notes. We're going to start out with some speakers here at the beginning. We're going to have a dance at the very end of this rally part, and then we're going to march. So feel free to get some refreshments over here. We have a visual. Please come drop flowers if you have them, light candles. There's some poster making over here if anyone's feeling artistic. I'm not so sure about where there are bathrooms nearby, but if you know where they are, come find me and I will give an announcement so everyone knows if anyone needs to use the bathroom. So those are just the housekeeping pieces. Oh. Okay, so I am going to bring up here Grace. She's going to be introducing all our speakers today, and this is Lil Money.
Lil Money!
Hello, I'm Grace. So next up our speaker is Katie Gu, she, her pronouns. She's a teacher and will be talking about white supremacy, model minority myth, performative activism, and an end to the Asian silence and obedience. Hi everyone, here's a piece I wrote called 10 Words from a Model Minority. I rarely cry about the Asian American experience. Why? Because we're living the good life. Because we are privileged. Because I don't see you guys as minorities. I mean, you're pretty much up there with white people. Because you're so whitewashed, you're not like any of the other Asians. Because, hey, Crazy Rich Asians was a great movie, and you guys made it to media. Isn't that exciting? Because our experiences are invalidated, and we're not allowed to process the complex emotions growing up as Asian Americans. And because we are labeled as model minorities. So, what's it like to constantly be reminded that you're a person of color, you don't qualify for the support that you need? Throughout history, census poverty lines have undersampled and homogenized the Asian American Pacific Islander community in research. While the AAPI community experiences one of the largest, that's right, I said largest wealth gaps, the media continues to look over our vast ethnic diversity and misrepresents us under one monolith of a skin color. We're described as a model minority when being used to oppress other minorities within white supremacy, but the moment when that narrative isn't helpful or convenient to white supremacy, we are then considered the other. We have it easy and we have it hard. This determination is constantly set by others, but never ourselves. We have mastered this art of shape-shifting. We have taught ourselves to bend over backwards to fit in, often at the cost of erasing our own culture and experiences. So I look up, and the spotlight is on me now. I question my own Asian American identity. I see how fourth grade me saw the American dream as eating hamburgers and pasta every day for meals instead of her stinky Chinese dinner, while her current 23-year-old self struggles with cooking ethnic foods and wishes that they learn more about cooking Chinese foods when she grew up. I mean, how messed up is it that I see my own culture as foreign and ethnic? I've always wondered, what will be the straw that broke the camel's back? What will be enough for us to fight back? How long will this performative activism last for, or will we just disappear into the archive posts of Instagram only to be acknowledged as a yellow square? No, we will not let that happen. We are tired. We are mad. I squint at the bright lights in front of me and someone holds out a microphone. 10 words. That's how long the average person scans an Instagram post before they decide if they want to care or not. I get 10 words to wrap up my whole life. To wrap up my whole life in Asian American experience. Is that enough? How can that be enough to represent the hardships and perseverance of my ancestors that fought to come here to chase after the American dream? I reach towards the tape covering my mouth, labeled model minority. Stop. Don't unpeel the tape. Pandora's box might be unleashed if you speak out against racism. Who knows what'll happen? Just stay quiet. Be the model minority that you are. Now that we have the platform, people have finally allowed us to be seen and heard. So I share some of my cries with you. I cry, not for myself, but for the entire bloodline of my ancestry and for my future children who will be othered and who will be made fun of because of the smell of their lunch. I cry for our elders who are being attacked in the streets. I cry for my parents who are first-generation immigrants told to be quiet and submissive in order to climb the economic ladder. I cry for Delane Ashley Yun, Xiao Jie Tung, Dao Yofeng, Julie Park, Park Hyung Jung, Paul Andre Michels in the recent Georgia shooting, along with Noel Quintana, Vicha Ratanapakdi, Christian Hall, and the countless others victim to hate crimes. For too long, we have let people harass and take advantage of us through our silence. This is an end to our silence and our so-called obedience. This is our time to debunk the model minority myth. Speak up and say something. So here are my 10 words. We are Asian America. We are present. We are loud. Thank you.
Magnificent speech.
Okay, another round of applause for that wonderful Thank you. Okay, next up we will have just they, them pronouns, a speaker from Anak Bayan, Seattle, a national democratic Filipino youth and student organization, sorry for the puppy, that in 2002 was established as the first overseas chapter of Anak Bayan, Philippines. Round of applause for Jess.
I'm gonna start us off with a chant. So I'm gonna do a call and then y'all will do the response. When I say the people united, you all say, we'll never be defeated. Ready? The people united! We'll never be defeated! Thank you. Good afternoon. Like they mentioned, I am a member of Anak Bayan Seattle, and we are a comprehensive organization of Filipino youth and students fighting for national sovereignty and genuine democracy in the Philippines. I want to quickly shout out the organizers of this rally for their work to put this together. We know as a youth organization that organizing means to choose struggle, and it means to take the path that is less traveled. So I appreciate you all for showing up today.
If you're with us on TikTok, thank you so much for joining. This is only our second stream.
Now I also want to be very clear. Anti-Black racism is used as a tool to further American imperialist geopolitical objectives everywhere, including the Asia Pacific. Meaning our fight against anti-Asian violence, against police brutality, militarization, and state repression is inextricably linked to the colonization, exploitation, and state repression and state violence in our home countries. This current manifestation of public violent attacks on Asian women and elders is just the surface. Dig below that surface and you will find the Asian Exclusion Act of 1924, the mass internment of Japanese Americans in World War II, the mob riots against Filipino migrant agricultural workers. In particular, you will find that attacks against Asian women are rooted in the ongoing history of poor and working class women being forced to provide rest and relaxation for white US military troops in order to survive. Dig deeper down to the root of the problem, and you will find imperialism and its thirst for wealth and power. US militarized police who killed George Floyd, who killed Angelo Quinto, both with a knee to the neck, are akin to the US military who are sent to the Philippines to train and arm the state forces, targeting all who fight for human rights throughout the archipelago. All of this being funded with your US tax dollars. And these are the same state forces that killed Chai and Ariel Evangelista in front of their 10-year-old son over trumped up charges, planted evidence during last month's Bloody Sunday killings against activists. It's the cooperation of the global ruling classes to suppress all dissent. In the Philippines, it's the slaughtering of thousands of our kababayan who are human rights defenders, students, women, indigenous people, peasants, farmers. It's also mass unemployment and militarized COVID lockdowns that are terrorizing the urban poor. All the manifestations of imperialism, only a few I have named today, are the result of strategically organized imperialist powers fighting one another with the aim of complete control and suppression of the masses for profit. Even with Trump gone, the Biden administration is set to establish a $27.4 billion network of precision strike missiles across Taiwan, Okinawa, the Philippines, and other countries, all to deter Chinese imperialists. So again, let's be clear. We share a common enemy, and that is US imperialism. So what do? They want our forces separated. Here in the belly of the beast and in our homelands, the most dangerous thing that we can do is unite all who are oppressed under capitalism, especially the working class and poor, especially Black, Indigenous, Muslim, Sikh, and trans and undocumented folks. We can't solve anti-Asian hate with colonial fetishized representation and love for Asian cultures and individuals. We refuse to solve it with cops who will always be weaponized against poor and BIPOC communities. And we know better than to put all of our energy into endlessly attempting to solve it through voting one imperialist president or representative over another. So we solve it with organizing, with uniting against our common enemy, and understanding each other's particular conditions and working towards mutual benefit. We strike imperialism at the root through international, working class solidarity and a broad united front. As anak bayan Seattle, we know our role as Filipino youth in the imperial core, in the belly of the beast, is to agitate, organize, and mobilize against this rotten system. We study and we act so that we can dig to the root problems of Philippine society: US imperialism, big landlords and feudalism, and capitalist politicians and political dynasties. And we tear it all down. We unite the masses for the national democratic revolution with a socialist perspective. And we answer the call for the masses to build a new society for genuine democracy and a sovereign Philippines. We also know that revolution is not a single event, nor is it a single summer. And so I invite you to join our movement against US imperialism and the fascist US Duterte regime. Here's an easy chant for you. It goes, "Oust Duterte now." Ready? Oust Duterte now! Yes. So if you're interested, Malaya Seattle is a US-based alliance against fascist dictatorship and for a democratic and sovereign Philippines. They're holding an orientation tomorrow online at 5 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at malaya.seattle. And if you're interested in joining our youth organization for the National Democratic Movement, Anak Bayan Seattle is holding an orientation the following Sunday, April 25th. And you can find us on Instagram at Anak Bayan Seattle. Or you can also come talk to any one of us. I will leave you with another chant that we use in the Philippines. It's "Maki baka, wag matakot," and it means dare to struggle, do not be afraid. And long live international solidarity.
That was amazing. Thank you for going so deep into how Asian hate is so much more systemic than we think. It's not just interpersonal hatred between people, it's much more institutional than that. A reminder, there's still a lot of refreshments, drinks that anyone can feel free to grab over there. And there's also water to grab for the march later, since it is a warm day. We want everyone to stay hydrated. We also have Car Brigade, which will also have water in their cars as well. So just make sure you prepare for the march since it's really sunny today. Okay, next up, we'll have Elaine Simons, the foster mom of Jesse Saray, who was murdered by Auburn police in 2019. Going off of what Jess said wonderfully, if we understand the premise that the US is an empire that has built itself up through imperialism and the conquest of Asian people, we cannot simultaneously believe the solution to so-called Asian hate is to empower that empire to administer our protection. The government will not keep us safe, like Jess said. These politicians do not have our interests in their minds. Police will never keep our communities safe. We keep us safe.
Good afternoon. My name is Elaine Simons. It is a tragedy to be sharing my personal story of my foster son, Jesse Saray. He was murdered by Officer Jeff Nelson of Auburn Police Department on May 31st, 2019. Jesse came to live with me when he was 11 years old. His younger brother Terrell lived with me for 9 years until he aged out of the foster care system. Jesse's family came to America during the Khmer Rouge from Cambodia to escape being killed. The elders are heartbroken that life in America has been such a difficult journey for their children born here. Jesse is a byproduct of our school to prison pipeline, mental health, homelessness, and foster care system. Jesse was a funny and sweet young man who loved breakdancing, wrestling, and Naruto. Jesse was having a mental health crisis in Auburn, Washington. The police were called to de-escalate the situation. At no time was a mental health response team called to check in on Jesse. Within 30 seconds of contact, while Jesse was chewing on ice, ironically sitting next to an ice machine, I won't even talk about the ice situation, my foster son was killed, yet another unarmed person of color. Death is no stranger to me. I have witnessed some of life's ugliness and the crippling effect it has on a person's soul. Jeff Nelson murdered Jesse, who was not only my foster son, but a human being who did not deserve to be murdered in this way. No human being should be die in this manner. We have all gathered here today to show our unity and support for the API community and show support for the cause of exposing and eradicating the wrongful practices and civil crimes administered by law enforcement, mostly targeting people of color throughout our country. With the recent, senseless killing of 13-year-old Adam Toledo by Chicago police, we are again reminded that excessive force by systemic racism is still not reformed in any way. We must continue to fight not just for Jesse, but for every person of color whose neck is under the racist knee of a system that has been predicated on violence against Black, brown, and Native bodies since American government has been established. I was devastated with the personal loss of my foster son, but anger that so many people are being killed in this horrible manner. I am now relentlessly on a mission to do right by him. With his Khmer family and supporters by my side, we got a killer cop arrested and charged. With second-degree murder and first-degree assault, he is the first cop to be on trial in the state of Washington in 30 years, and the first one under I-940. Jesse's death is way too late for all the other people that have died. Activists took down Nelson's GoFundMe page. Thank you. It was at $50,000 when it got taken down. Shame on him, and it was under the name of his dog. No, our mission is to get Nelson decertified so he can never be a police officer again, and to get him convicted. And I'm sorry for abolitionists here, I want him in prison. Yeah. This is a 3-time serial killer. He's responsible not only for the death of my foster son, but for the death of Brian Saccharin and Isaiah Obit. And Isaiah Obit was a Samoan Pacific Islander. I call out, and they're not here, to the good and honorable police whose careers are tarnished by the evildoers among you. I hope you find the courage to stand with us on this journey to find justice for all citizens. We need you to join us on the right side of history. We need your protection, not your violence. What will it take for one moral compass to admit that bad cops exist just like bad people in every facet of life and in every workplace? The code of blue needs to be broken. To break that code of blue, we need your support, not your violence. When I testified at the arraignment asking for bail, the prosecutors did not, and the defense did not put bail on Nelson. They let him go after his arrest. I was appalled by the dozens of Auburn police that showed up in support of a 3-time killer. I was disgusted by the lack of remorse by the defendant, Jeff Nelson. I truly believe the only remorse that he had was he got caught. It was like looking into the eyes of a soulless individual. To this day, we have not had a formal apology from the Auburn mayor or chief of police, and they are now going to put $65 million towards a new police department. I could be consumed by hate. I choose to use my outrage to seek justice. I could not be complicit any longer. I have been working tirelessly on the front lines telling Jesse's story so he would not just become another BIPOC young person murdered by the racist police. With the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability and other impacted families, we have put forth bills for statewide change, and they have made it to the governor. My foster son died for this cause. There is a murder trial ahead for us, for justice for Jesse and his family. I have done and will continue to do self-reflection so that I can take care of my personal, emotional, spiritual, and physical health to be strong and not waver during the trial. I work and I hope for healing to take place. To change the narrative, we all need to come together for justice. Families on the front line need your support. Now is the time to join this fight with impacted families and follow their lead. How can you help Jesse? Please pull out your cell phone. Go to change.org and type Jesse. Everybody find it? I think there's only one Jesse, but who knows? There's probably a lot of Jessies. But it should come up as Jesse Saray. Sign the petition and send it to 4 friends for the time between the first and second shot that killed him. Please hold up 4 fingers when you are done. To all the friends and supporters across the nation, we are building a coalition of API from Chicago, Las Vegas, Connecticut, from across the nation. We are joining into a national campaign. And I want to thank you for being with me and the Saray family as we seek justice not only for Jesse, but for so many who have died and will die if we don't take action. I'm going to shout out API names killed by police brutality. Please repeat after me. And if I've left someone out, when I'm done, shout out a loved one. Tommy Lay. Giovanni Joseph McDay. Enosa E.J. Strickland.
Shoot, that's worse.
Miles Murphy. Christian Hall. Isaiah Falatego. Jesse Saray. Antonio Dunsmore. Angelo Cueto. Christopher Akamoto, Isaiah Obed. Any other names? Thank you. It is an honor to kick off. Well, it's not an honor, but it is to kick off my coming out and speaking out on this special day, especially that it's the Khmer New Year's, which just really brings it home. Unfortunately, Jesse will not be going back to Cambodia with our family, except in his urn. And so we have yet to be able to take him home on his final journey. It is sitting there waiting, but because of COVID, we've had 2 deaths, his uncle and him, and they will be going together back to Cambodia. Last time I made that journey was in 2008, and it was probably one of the most significant moments in my life to be able to be among millions of souls that had perished under a horrible regime. And so thank you, and have a wonderful, thank you.
So I've tried to do the best I can with the cameras. The sun is literally like right in my face. I can't see the screen on any of the 3 cameras I'm using.
Thank you so much,
I
Elaine,
hope
for
I'm
sharing your
centered.
powerful story. Can we get another round of applause for Elaine? Next up, we will have Amy Jong, she, her pronouns. She's a local doctor who has personal experiences of racism and misogyny in the healthcare industry. We cannot ignore the fact that anti-Asian violence disproportionately impacts women. More than 68% of reported incidents of anti-Asian harassment and violence have been from women. So let's give Amy a warm welcome.
Hi everyone, thank you very much. So my name is Amy Zhang. I'm a University of Washington resident physician in anesthesiology, and I'm also president-elect of the Resident and Fellow Physician Union Northwest. As a disclaimer, this is also my first time speaking at a rally. So this means a lot to me to get the chance to talk to all of you and to have all of you here. And to have all of you here listening, especially as an Asian American woman, because oftentimes our voices are silenced because of racist and sexist stereotypes like the model minority myth. So in January of 2020, the first confirmed COVID-19 case in the United States was discovered in Washington state. As an anesthesiologist working in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, I felt an elevated sense of risk and danger because we were often instrumenting patients' airways and working near their faces while wearing only surgical masks. Even though we knew that asymptomatic infection played a large role in COVID-19 transmission, routine preoperative COVID-19 screening tests had not yet been implemented. However, for many of us Asian Americans, our fears of anti-Asian racism outweighed our fears of the virus itself. In February of 2020, video surfaced of an Asian woman wearing a face mask being attacked in the New York City subway system because of her race. Then, in March of 2020, I got to experience COVID-related racial harassment firsthand. As resident physicians, we work long hours, on average 60 to 80 hours a week. So we don't get to see the sunlight much because we're often in the hospital before sunrise and we leave after sunset or vice versa. On that day, I was working at Harborview Medical Center, and since my shift started, the night shift started at 5 p.m., I decided to walk to work in the afternoon instead of driving to work. When I was about a block away from Harborview, a white man who was standing on the street corner within a few feet of me started saying racial epithets and blaming my ethnicity for the spread of COVID-19. As I kept walking to the hospital, he got angrier and more agitated, and he started following me. And he started screaming racist slurs and threats of sexual violence as I continued walking. I was scared and I quickened my pace, but I was afraid to run because I didn't want to provoke or trigger him into chasing after me. Thankfully, I got into the hospital fairly soon afterwards, but these were the days before COVID-19 visitor restrictions were implemented, so he could have kept following me if he wanted to. Even though I was scared, shaken, and extremely stressed, I was fortunate that it did not escalate to the level of physical violence. Nonetheless, this affected me significantly, and it affected my lifestyle habits significantly afterwards. I stopped going outside or walking as much, and I started driving to places a lot more, including driving exclusively to and from work at great personal expense. Since then, a lot more crimes against Asian Americans and hate crimes have occurred, including in February of 2021 when a high school teacher, another Asian American woman, was attacked in Chinatown International District. The attack was so severe that she was left with facial fractures and dental injuries. Fast forward a bit more to March 16th, 2021. I was once again working on the night shift at the University of Washington Medical Center when I went into a patient's room to check in on that patient. On their TV screen flashed news of another shooting in the US. That day, Robert Aaron Long decided to visit 3 different Asian-owned spas in Atlanta, and he shot and murdered 8 individuals, including 6 Asian women. Fast forward a bit further into late March of 2021, and Christopher Hamner, a VA hospital employee, was arrested for hate crimes and threats against Asian women, including one Asian woman who had children with her at the time. These attacks are not random. The Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino, reported that there was an 150% increase in hate crimes against Asians in 2020. The Stop AAPI Hate Reporting Center reported 3,795 documented cases of anti-Asian incidents between March 19th, 2020 and February 28th, 2021. With women reporting 2.3 times as many incidents as men. About 9% of these incidents are targeting elderly individuals. These racist bigots are cowards. They've been targeting people who seem vulnerable, who seem like they can't fight back. And these acts of physical violence can happen to any of us. Whenever I go outside alone nowadays, I wonder if I'm going to be targeted by some random stranger because of my race and my gender, 2 characteristics that I was born with, that I cannot change, and that I cannot hide. The other day, I decided to go to the gym because I had some free time and I wanted to try to be healthy. And about 10 minutes into my walk there, I started wondering if I had made an egregious mistake, because this was the time that I was going to be smashed in the face by some random individual, like what happened to that high school teacher. Do you realize how much of your life is affected when you can no longer go outside alone and feel safe? No more last-minute grocery store runs. No more trips to the gym because you had free time and you wanted to do something good for your fitness. No more random walks outside because the weather was nice, like today, and because you finally got off work early enough that the sun has not set yet. Some of these attacks have been against Asian children or families with children. Whenever my family goes outside now, or whenever my child goes outside, I'm worried for them. Even though I'm glad that we are finally talking about anti-Asian racism, that we are finally acknowledging this very significant issue, and that we're finally doing something about it, I'm worried and I'm concerned that it seems like the rate of anti-Asian attacks have gone up instead of decreasing. Thank you all for coming here today, because we all need to unite for an anti-racist cause. We all need to stand together for anti-racism, whether that's against Asians or anyone. And justice is not a passive process, and we all need to step up, and there are things that we all can do. We need to speak up when you see someone making racist jokes or saying something that is offensive. We need to intervene when you see someone who's being harassed because of their race or other demographic characteristics, and you need to step up and say something if someone's being assaulted because of this. Don't shut your doors and look away when you see an elderly Asian woman who's being stomped on by a much larger, aggressive man. Structural and institutional racism is also a huge issue. Say something to your institutions and advocate against discriminatory employment, promotion, and compensation policies. Speak up to your elected officials and tell them to promote anti-racist policies and legislation because they answer to you. Support organizations who are doing good work, like Asian Americans Advancing Justice, Stop AAPI Hate, and the Massage Parlor Outreach Project. Listen to our voices and help amplify the voices of minoritized individuals. We all have a part to play in anti-racism, and together our love can outshine their hate. Thank you very much for coming out today and for taking steps towards anti-racism.
The puppy had to take a water break. Okay, thank you so much, Amy. Another round of applause for Amy. Next up, we'll be welcoming Natalie Murphy, the sister of Miles Murphy, who was a UW student murdered by SPD in 2019. Give her a round of applause.
Hello everyone, my name is Natalie Murphy Mayhew, and I'm here representing my brother, Miles Murphy, a 22-year-old UW student who was killed by Seattle police in 2009. I am also a proud biracial Japanese American. My brother was so much more than a victim of police violence. Miles was 3 years older than me. Most younger sisters revere their older brothers, but everyone I knew thought Miles was an extraordinary person. He was the kind of person who made an immediate impression on you. At a young age, Miles was identified as being extremely intellectually gifted and was placed in a school program for gifted students. Miles had an insatiable thirst for knowledge. His passion was world history, which was complemented by a love of music. Miles was a composer and played the piano and accordion virtuosically. His interest in world history and cultures extended into other areas of his life, as he dressed in vintage clothing and enjoyed going antique shopping. He was well known for his fashionable ensembles and musical prowess in high school and college. He was also hilarious, handsome, and loved pop culture. And here's a photo of him over here on the sign. When Miles was 22 years old, he was a thriving student at the University of Washington. He was on track to double major in Germanics and Scandinavian studies and planned to become a college professor one day. Miles was doing well because he had found a community of other history buffs through attending war reenactments and made a lot of friends at UW. On the night of New Year's Eve in 2009, Miles and two of his friends were shooting blanks from a historic rifle into the air to celebrate the new year in a non-threatening way. Neighbors complained about the noise and called the police. By the time the police arrived, Miles and his friends had gone back inside. When Miles opened his door, not knowing when Miles opened his door, he didn't know the police were there. Witnesses said officers shined their bright lights in Miles' face and started shooting immediately upon seeing him exiting his apartment building. According to the coroner's report, he was shot at least 7 times by 2 officers armed with AR-15s. Following the shooting, the officers delayed obtaining appropriate medical attention for my brother. He was eventually taken to Harborview Medical Center, where surgeons tried to save his life. After hours of surgery, Miles passed away alone at the hospital. Meanwhile, my parents had absolutely no idea what had transpired. The police never bothered to call my parents. The hospital called my parents after Miles had passed away. If this had been a homicide by anyone other than the police, they would have called the victim's family members. Shouldn't all homicides be treated the same, regardless of whether there was an officer involved? Thank you. My parents wish they could have been there while Miles was still alive. And furthermore, the police provided my family with few details about the incident. For nearly 24 hours, my parents had no idea what events led to the death of their son until after they were able to come into contact with the people who were there with my brother that night. When my parents asked the police what had happened, they said, wait until the inquest, which is a whole nother issue. The day after my brother was killed, and in the days following, the police gave local media outlets false information to justify my brother's killing and completely vilified his character. To this day, I sometimes hesitate to tell people that my brother's name was Miles Murphy because there is still so much false information on the internet about who he was and what happened to him. After my brother was killed by police, I became hyper aware of how often officer-involved shootings happen, especially in King County. Every time I hear there's another act of police violence, I relive my experience over and over again. I see how police react the same way over and over again. They control the media narrative by speaking to the media while the families are in shock and grieving. The dehumanization and dishonoring of the victim adds to the trauma that the family members have already endured. They say the same phrases to help justify the killings. In my brother's case, one of the things they said was, he stepped forward. By controlling the narrative, they influence public opinion before investigations are conducted. But whatever they say the victim was supposedly doing, it does not give them the right to kill. The Sixth Amendment guarantees everyone a public trial, a lawyer, and the right to know their accusers. Victims of police deadly force are denied these rights for alleged actions, and none are punishable by death. So what should each of us do? Know your local victims. Unfortunately, there are a lot of them right here in King County and in Washington State. Demand that news outlets do fact-checking before reporting what they are told by the police and that they present both sides. And finally, stand united for police accountability and reform. Thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to speak today and speak to my brother's memory.
Thank you, Natalie, for being vulnerable and sharing your powerful story here. Next up, we're going to welcome Sunshine again for some closing statements, and she'll be introducing the next group.
Hi
everybody. As we're coming to a wrap up of this portion of the event, I just want to invite everybody one more time to get refreshments. That'll help make the breakdown easier, so you'll be helping everybody. So, as we close, abolition can be a taboo word. And we need to think about the next steps. Abolition, what does that mean? What does it look like? And it looks like intersectionality. It looks like solidarity. It looks like deepening what you do every day, wherever you are on your journey. Because just like life, abolition and this journey for growth, it's all individual, and we need to take the baby steps, no matter how uncomfortable they are. Because without discomfort, there can be no growth. Are we confronting the transphobic, the sexist, the imperialistic, the colonist, the white supremacist comments in our families, in our homes, at work? Are we looking at what we're doing in our day-to-day lives? It doesn't have to be big. It can start small. There are so many of us that have these horrific experiences where it could have been different if one person had just stood with us. We might not have gotten fired for that job. Fired. If someone had stood with us and said, you know what? It was right of her to not want the CEO of your company to call the finance department a bunch of clucking hens. It was right for that person to stand up and call out the racist remark. It was right of that person to not want to be the good POC, because that's what they're always looking for. And we have to look within ourselves. We have to look in the mirror, what we're doing. And this is where we have to identify what privileges we have, because privilege just means where you are in your proximity in the system that we cannot remove ourselves from until we build these systems of mutual aid, until we build these systems of intersectionality. Whether it be your education level, whether it be your light skin privilege, whether it be the way you articulate, because code switching, that's how a lot of us survive. A lot of us survive in this world because we have to talk a certain way. We all do it naturally too. You don't even notice that you're having to talk in a particular way so that, because the police are right there. You know, it's fun to say fuck 12, but when you get pulled over, is that what you're saying? Or are you going, hi officer, how's your evening? Because that's the reality of our lives. And it's gonna take all of us. Because when we're talking about hate and these crimes, we're talking about ending white supremacy. We're talking about tearing it down. That is what we want to abolish. You can't reimagine policing. You can't reimagine these things. You can't reform. There's no more reform. These institutions started as slave patrols. They started as enslaved peoples, and now we have privatized prisons that corporate America has bought and sold so many times for cheap labor, and there's so many people making money off that system. You get paid cents on the dollar in there. They make college furniture, license plates, almost anything you can imagine. And these are the systems we need to abolish, because we need to look forward to the future. And that looks like transformative and restorative justice. That requires all of us to be a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit of growth,
every single day, because we're all learning, we're all humans, and this is how we move forward in this new world that we're going to build together. We're going to build this new world together. We're going to tear these systems apart, and that is how we end white supremacy. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here today. And I want to thank each and every one of you as you sit back later tonight and you think about the things you've heard and you digest them, because it's a lot. How you're going to do a little bit more tomorrow. Every day, we make the world a better place. At some point before us, it didn't matter anymore. You know, that's why we're seeing the Mother Earth die on our watch, but it's not going to happen on our watch. We're going to reverse these problems, because this is the world our children are inheriting. And it is our responsibility to make it a better place every day. So thank you everybody for coming, and I hope that you join us on the march if you're able, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Sunset. Okay, so we're gonna be having a line dance performance next, and so just this group of people, thank you so much. If you could move further back, that should be good enough. You guys are all good to stay where you are, just like this open space, keep it open. Thank you so much.
Salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you everyone for being here today. We're gonna start getting ready to march now. Before we go, I want to say thank you to our vendors who provided the food here today, which reminds me, it's a warm day out there. Please be sure, are there still refreshments out? If there's still refreshments, grab some water before we march. It's going to be a hot day out there. I know there's also going to be water in the car brigade cars as we go if y'all need it along the way. So just a quick shout out to thank you to Hood Famous, to Young T, to Chuman Tofu, Kiki Bakery and Cafe, and Guava for the people for providing the food for today. Thank y'all so much. I want to give another big round of applause for all our speakers today. Thank you all so much for sharing. I want to especially thank the families who had the bravery to come up here and speak. Thank you to all the support teams who came out here so far today to help make this happen, from security to medics to mutual aid support. Thank you all. And then I also want to thank the group of people, my amazing comrades who put this all together. We saw a need in the community and put this all together in 2 weeks to create this beautiful event today. Can we give them all a beautiful round of applause? So we are gonna start getting ready. We're gonna have a few, it's gonna take us a second to transition, break down, and then we're gonna allow us a very brief open mic while we're changing things around. There will also be opportunities along the way to do open mic for those who are able to march with us and want to speak some more. Thank you all for being here today.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching on our streams, you're going to have to deal with some jiggling camera for a minute because I need to reconfigure for walking.
Normally when I do a speech, I'm standing, but obviously I want to kind of show folks that disability is invisible. Sometimes it's something like being in a rollator or having a wheelchair, and sometimes it's something like not having a full intestine.
Come on.
But what I really want to talk about is how being Asian American is an intersectional experience.
Gonna have to do this a little differently. Sorry about this.
A lot of us, are saying stop Asian hate, but we're really not addressing the true core and the true issue, which is white supremacy.
There we go.
White supremacy is why this neighborhood exists. This neighborhood exists because of redlining. This neighborhood exists because we weren't allowed to rent with the white people. It exists because our food was too foreign and icky for white people to want except on vacation. They don't want to have us live near them unless we are like them. They told us that our languages were too weird and that we were not going to assimilate. That is called model minority, and that is called yellow peril. When the women from China, from Japan, from Indonesia, from all of our different Asian countries came here, they were seen as sex workers, regardless of whether or not they were, because yellow peril says that if you are an Asian AFAB person or an Asian femme, you must be a prostitute. And if you are a sex worker, then you must be a bad person, a lazy person, a poor person, as if being poor is a crime. Being able to say that I am a sex worker is a privilege, because there are so many folks that are being forced into sex work from poverty and job discrimination. Job discrimination that makes transgender people unable to find jobs. Transgender disabled people like myself who work 40 hours a week, but they cannot work that 9 to 5 hour day. When you look around, you see all these boards through this neighborhood. That was my project with my cousin and Miss Nora Chan. It was the mural project. That project was started because we knew that white supremacists would break these windows and try to gentrify our neighborhood. I am Japanese American and I am mixed. Imperialism and Japanese culture says that I am less of a Japanese person, even though I was raised Japanese American. Even though I am 4th generation, I am seen as not American. Even though I am more American than a lot of white people. Even though I am as American as Irish people. My family came here in the 1800s. needs to be said that when we are addressing the issue with policing, there will be folks and there will be Asians that say we need to keep police. And their voices are valid because their experience says that they are afraid and who will protect them. But the reality is, the police have never come to Chinatown. They never came here. They didn't come to Chinatown when it was on 4th Avenue. They didn't come to Chinatown when this was Nihon Machi and they interned us. And they certainly aren't coming now. I was stalked violently in my building for the last 10 months. This man told me repeatedly he was going to kill me. The police told me it would not be a crime unless he murdered me. I gave them a recording where he said, "I am going to kill you." Even with the recording, they told me it was not a crime. My background is in juvenile probation. I have 3 degrees. I have a bachelor's degree in English, a master's in fine arts and children's literature, and an associate certificate in early childhood education. And yet I still can't find a job because I am trans and because I am disabled. The same folks that tell you, oh, well, we need to reform the police system. You should remind them that in this neighborhood, Donnie Chin's murder is still unsolved. He came out here because he saw his community had a need. His community had a need because there were kids that weren't being watched because their parents had to work. There was a need because every time there was a domestic violence incident, there was a violent stalker, the police didn't come because we are not a priority to them. The only time they come to Chinatown is to ticket our cars. They don't come to protect us. My stalker was arrested, but he was not arrested for threatening to kill me. He was not arrested for threatening to kill my landlord. He was not arrested for threatening to kill the people in my building. They said because he was threatening to kill the whole building, it wasn't a crime. No, he was arrested for kicking the Buddha statue. Because a wooden Buddha statue matters more to the police, the Asian and Black police, than a transgender activist. When folks are saying that I don't care about the elders because I'm an abolitionist, I want to remind them. I did a project recently with Miss Nora Chan, and that project was to vaccinate all of Chinatown International District. We vaccinated over 70% of the senior population. The system is eugenic. The system doesn't serve people who don't speak English. And many of our elders here came here looking for a better life for their children. But they themselves do not speak English to the level and medical caliber that they need to be able to access these forms. All of the reminders, all the forms are in English. And even for someone with a master's degree, it is difficult to navigate. When these elders were being turned away because they were not clients of a clinic, we decided, okay, we are going to write letters to the governor. We're going to write letters to the mayor. We advocated for the seniors because the thing is, as Asian Americans, the seniors are the heart of our community and the heart of this neighborhood. This neighborhood would not be the same without aunties and uncles hawking vegetables on the sidewalk, without aunties and uncles playing ping pong in the square and Tai Chi. It would not be the same without them. COVID-19 has made it very clear to all of us that we are next. Black America has always been in front of us, and Indigenous America was first. But the reality is, we cannot afford to let them kill our allies. We need to understand that when they are done with Black America, we are next. This hatred towards Asians isn't going away because they are realizing that we are rising up against them. We are not model minority. We are not submissive. We need to come together. And even though, yes, there are black people that have committed anti-Asian violence, just as there have been Asians who have committed anti-black violence. Just as we do not want to be tokenized, we should not tokenize our black community, because the black community has also always been here in Chinatown. So we need to support them. As the ending note of this, I want to say that the reason why we need to address this, if nothing else, is because we do not know the value of each person. If I had been murdered in my apartment, would I have been able to vaccinate 70% of this neighborhood? Would I have been able to advocate for Lumen's Field to be open so that it would be accessible for everyone? Would I have been able to advocate for restaurant workers to be a part of the next phase of opening for COVID vaccination, arguing that restaurant workers are dealing with open food and it is a public safety issue? No, I would not. So when we are looking at who are we protecting, even if we are being selfish, even if we are being business and capitalist minded, it is in our best interest to protect transgender activists. It is in our best interest to protect black activists. And it is in our best interest to protect sex workers. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for everyone being here. I just wanted to say a couple words. I am an Asian American person, I am a sex worker, and I wanted to touch on something that a lot of people may experience in their everyday life as an Asian person or as a non-white person, and especially as a woman, a feminine person, is this daily, microaggressions, people coming up, everything from touching your hair to, oh, I have yellow fever, or any type of comment like that. And I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that a lot of times those things seem insignificant and small or easy to ignore or brush off as a bad joke. But that type of language and behavior is the foundation for the behavior that leads to the murder and violence against sex workers, not just Asian women, but all non-white women and white women as well in that space. I have been working in clubs and many different environments and have experienced this firsthand, as well as had many conversations with other Asian sex workers about this. It starts with the comments, and it creates this disgusting, toxic culture where already sex workers are so dehumanized, so seen as victims and just asking for violence, and it's just part of the job, it's just what is expected to happen. There's nothing that can be done about it. But that is exponential when it comes to sex workers who are exotified and dehumanized for other reasons. The last speaker was talking about the intersectionality that comes along with that. And I wanted to bring attention to the fact that that language that we hear on the streets turns into fatalities when it comes to the way that men are interacting with sex workers. The number one risk that a sex worker experiences at their job is the toxic male behavior projected onto them. Police have never been there for sex workers at any point, at any time. Police officers are literally the ones doing this violence, going in plain clothes to clubs and telling women, oh, if you don't give me a blowjob, then I'm gonna have to arrest you. And it is shocking how often that happens, and no one
talks about it at all. It's literally the cops that are the ones that are stalking and harassing Asian women. They're the ones stalking and harassing black women and trans women. They're the ones going into the club and doing this themselves. And it's your friends or your co-workers that are saying that they have yellow fever or whatever are the ones that, you know, at their Tinder hookup think it's okay to choke the other girl because, oh, she's just submissive. She likes that. It's just so ingrained in our culture to dehumanize sex workers. And it can change. It doesn't have to be a dangerous job. It doesn't have to be like this. It starts within our communities. It starts with the language that we are all using. It starts with the little things we can do to stick up for those around us. And it doesn't end there either. Thank you all for coming and showing your support and marching. And just remember, when we let people slide with their racist and misogynistic, transphobic behavior, what we're telling people is that's okay. And it's okay to take it to another level. So when you see something small, stop it there. And I hope that we can get to a place where the majority of people are absolutely not okay with violence against sex workers, because unfortunately, even though there are many people here now and many people talking about it online, I am sad to say that I think it's an incredibly small minority of people who consider sex workers as people, even when they're talking about marginalization, when they're talking about abolition, when they're talking about liberation. But their voices must be included, and as we have seen also, a lot of sex workers are at the forefront of activism as well. Thank you.
Impressive bravery. Absolutely impressive bravery.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think Car and Bike Brigade are ready, and we're getting ready to get out in the street now. Thank you all for listening to us today. Now we want to hear y'all's voices. Can I get an end white supremacy? End white supremacy! Can I get a fuck white supremacy? Fuck white supremacy! Can I get an Asian is beautiful? Asian is beautiful! Pacific Islander is beautiful! Pacific Islander is beautiful! Black is beautiful! Black is beautiful! Indigenous is beautiful! Indigenous is beautiful! Brown is beautiful! Brown is beautiful! Does who got the power? We got the power! I can't hear you! Who got the power? We got the power! Who got the power? We got the power! Let's get in the street, y'all! That way! That way!
All right.
Like 3 blocks, but then I think
I think you saw me. I opened the logo.
All right.
I opened the kitchen window. You wave back to me. And
So here, let me move a little bit. So first of all, if you're just tuning in, thank you for joining. We are live. We are in Seattle. This is a Stop Asian Hate and Solidarity March.
We're going to have the front of the march here, so if someone wants to kind of form a line, we do have a banner that we're going to bring over here in just a second. We have a couple brave people who want to be at the front of the banner.
those of you in particular joining us on TikTok, thank you for joining. This is only our second stream that we've done on TikTok. For those of you watching us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook, thank you for joining us today. This is a good time to remind people, please spam those hearts. Let those mods and admins who are working hard to keep the chat clean, let them know that you appreciate the hard work that they do. We have a lot of people on our team are working today. We have a person in Brooklyn Center. There's another activity going on in another area in Seattle. We've got people there.
A lot of you already know these, but we want to make sure that we stay together in a group.
Those of you on some channels, I'm going to go ahead and mute while they do the safety briefing. We'll be back in a moment. Video will be going, but I'm muting audio. All right, that's it for the safety briefing. We're going to go ahead and...
We're going to start with the easy one that most of you know, but we do have some new chants for you too today. So, hey, ho! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho!
see you too. Buddy. Make them famous. There's a puppers. We love puppers in protest. French bulldogs for API, right there. Oh, God, it's adorable. We love puppers.
We are here at Donnie Chin International Children's Park. And Donnie Chin is important because he was a Vietnamese economic activist who reimagined community alternatives to policing. He was inspired by the Black Panther Party, and what he did was patrol the ID with a group of young first responders. And they acted as the community's firefighters, medics, and rescuers for years. Donnie Chin picked up the slack where the police did not protect our communities. The police constantly oppressed people of color. Donnie saw opportunity in SPD's failure and stepped up. Communities that protect each other and have watch blocks have a 16% decrease in crime. Police forces across the country are co-opting the pain and grief of the Asian community to push funding for policing.
We are disgusted by this effort because the police do not keep our communities safe. Fuck that! Just last week, Jenny Durkin and Chief Diaz attempted to appropriate $150,000 in funding to SPD for a crimes prevention bias center. Fuck that! Fuck that! This is the same police force that murdered Tommy Lay over a fucking pen.
If even that. If even that.
This is the same police force that murdered Miles Murphy for holding a rifle during a history reenactment. Jesse Saray, Antonio Dunsmore,
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Christian Hall. There are too many names to count, and these are just the Asian and Pacific Islander names. Not to mention all of the API massage and sex workers who suffer through police raids, where SPE seizes their money, displaces them from their homes, criminalizes their very existence, and deports them from their country for wanting to have a better life. Fuck 12! Fuck 12! Fuck 12! How many API mothers, fathers, daughters, grandmothers, and children are being held at the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma, where they are treated as less than human and put into cages for simply wanting to have a better life for their families? Fuck ICE! Fuck ICE! Fuck ICE! This needs to stop today. Our community will not be used to justify upholding these oppressive systems that terrorize our people and other people of color. We have been told our entire lives to be the model minority, to be these silent-ass Asians, to be these quiet, repressed Asians, to uphold these systems of white supremacy. Fuck that! Fuck that! In order to deconstruct these systems of racism and white supremacy, we first must reckon with our own proximity to white supremacy. And I'm talking to all of you. I'm talking to the model minority Asians. I'm talking to white folks especially. I'm talking to anyone because we live in a white supremacist society. To abolish these systems, we first must abolish the cops in our minds. We must abolish the model minority in our minds. We are not your model minority.
We are not a model minority.
Who is not your model minority?
We are not your model minority.
We stand with the black and brown community who has been shot and oppressed for hundreds of years. We stand with the indigenous people of this land and the Duwamish who have been erased. We stand with the immigrants who are here fighting for a better life. Who protects us?
We protect us.
Who protects us?
We protect us.
Defund SPD, how much?
100%.
Defund SPD, how much?
100% at least.
Where should that money go?
To black communities.
Where should that money go?
To black communities.
Thank you.
What are we not? We are not your fucking model minority. So fuck off white supremacy. Okay, we got our next speaker here. Welcome, Trix.
Thank you for coming out today. Thank you for standing in solidarity. I see so many different skin colors out here. This is amazing. This is wonderful. This is how it should be. What does America look like?
This is what America looks like.
That's right. That's right. So this mask that I'm wearing, it's actually the first Rainbow Coalition. Does anybody know about the Rainbow Coalition? Tell me, who invented this? Who gathered the group? I can't hear you. That's right. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton? That's right. Black man. And what'd they do to him? That's right. Who killed him?
Police.
Oh, yeah, the police. That's right. So, what do we want? We want to end white supremacy. Come on. We want to invest in the community. And we want to end white terrorism. So, everyone, this is Donnie Chin's park. I don't know if you know, but this is dedicated to Donnie Chin, who invested in the community. What he was doing was exactly what everyone here needs to do. So all this marching is to bring attention to it. The action after is to go and invest in your community. That means talk with your city leaders, make sure they know that you want more healthcare, universal healthcare, maybe universal basic income. You want all these things going into your parks, going into your schools, everything, instead of the police. All right. End white supremacy. Repeat. End white supremacy. Defund SPD. Defund SPD. Let's get this moving.
All right, let's do this one. So repeat after me. We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Ending racism must be priority.
Ending racism must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Equity for all must be priority.
Equity for all must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Solidarity must be priority.
Solidarity must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Ending racism must be priority.
Ending racism must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Equity for all must be priority.
Equity for all must be a priority.
We are not your model minority. Solidarity must be priority. We are not your model minority. Ending racism must be priority. We are not your model minority. Equity for all must be priority. We are not your model minority. Solidarity must be priority. We are not your model minority. Ending racism must be priority. We are not your model minority. Equity for all must be priority.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
everyone, someone
Yes.
is pointing out this is where
Okay.
Donnie Chen was shot. We must honor those that have fallen for the cause. So let's just take a slight breath and let's honor Donnie Chen. His murder is still a question of what happened. So let's take a moment here. Catch your breath, breathe in some air. Let's think about Donnie Chen and how we can also be inspired by what he did and thinking about community and alternatives to policing. Okay, let's keep rolling.
Okay, who do we protect? API sex workers. Who do we protect?
API sex workers.
Who do we protect?
API sex workers.
Who do we protect? API immigrants. Who do we protect? API immigrants. Who do we protect? API trans lives.
API stands for Asian Pacific Islanders.
API trans lives. Who do we protect? API elders. Who do we protect? API elders.
Who do we protect?
API sex workers. Who do we protect? API immigrants. Who do we protect? API trans lives. Who do we protect? API elders. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. All united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Asian, white, all united in the fight. All united in the fight. All united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, and white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Listen up, you fascist bastards, you're the public safety hazard. Listen up, you fascist bastards, you're the public safety hazard. You're the public safety hazard. Tell me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Tell me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Stop making excuses for white violence. API will not be silent. They are not your minority. Ending racism is a priority. Ending racism is a priority. We are not your minority. Solidarity must be your priority. Who do we protect? API sex workers. Who do we protect? API sex workers. Who do we protect? API All right, everyone. So right now, we also must stand for all of the unhoused people. And so, as we're passing through an encampment, please show respect and please lower the noise as we show respect for their homes.
getting her miles in. This is an opportunity for me to kind of explain what's going on if you're new to the stream. First of all, thank you for joining us. My name is David. I am the Malcontent. This is Malcontent News. We are live. We're in Seattle, Washington. We're in the International District, passing under I-5. This is a Not Your Model Minority March. We're really, really happy that you're joining us today. Particularly on... Oh. I'm so sorry. Particularly on particularly if you're on TikTok. This is only our second stream, as we just got on TikTok. Oh, I mean, I could say back in January, but we really didn't start posting anything until March. So I've only really been there about 5 or 6 weeks. Seattle police ran us up this hill on August 16th after running us about 1.8 miles from Spog. This stop sign coming up here
Thank you for being respectful.
is about as far up as I've gone.
Even right now, on the wave of anti-trans legislation, anti-trans violence, or intersectional violence to our API family, we're thinking about those who are most impacted, most traumatized today. So, in solidarity to our Malaysian, trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming people, because I know some of y'all and I know you're out there. My body, my business, bitch. Can I get that back? My body, my business, bitch. My body, my business, bitch. My body, my business, bitch. Give me a drop. My body, my business, bitch. 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 Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Black, white, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Who do we protect? API sex workers. 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 Who do we protect?
API.
Who do we protect?
API immigrants.
Listen here, you guys.
actually record heat here in Seattle. I know a lot of the country are at near record cold. We are cooking in Seattle today.
Okay, we're going to be coming up here to many Asian-owned businesses. And I don't know if you remember when COVID was hitting, not a lot of people were coming down here. I was going to try and come to the Chinese New Year Festival, but the people that were supposed to come with me didn't want to come. And so, a lot of these businesses, as many across the country, have been hit very hard. And we're still in this pandemic. I hope you all are getting your vaccinations.
Woo! Last week.
Because we want to be out here together. We want to be out here in solidarity. We've been so isolated from each other, haven't we? And that has taken a toll on a lot of people. So thank you for being out here. I know it's hot. Please drink water. We've got medics around here too. If you're feeling like you need a medic or water, please say so. But we want to point out that a lot of these businesses have been hit very hard, especially as COVID was starting to gain traction. So please, do what you can to support all BIPOC businesses. Okay, we're going to keep moving here. Hey, hey! Ho, ho!
These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! These racist cops have got to My business, bitch. My body. My body. My body. My body. My body. My business, bitch. Listen up, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen up, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen up, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. You're the public safety hazard. Hey, oh ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, oh ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, oh ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, oh ho, these racist cops have got to go. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Listen up, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen up, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Who do we protect? API sex workers. 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 API sex workers. API trans life! API trans life! Oh yeah.
Oh, the shade is appreciated.
How's everyone feeling? You hydrated right now? Everyone have what they need? I ask in particular, I've got a few health issues myself, and once again, I'm so happy to be on the ground after so much
Okay,
time.
I gotta drink a little water.
So, you know very well, please stay hydrated. Yeah, it's fucking hot out here, isn't it? Woo! But it's summer!
Summer season.
Okay. We are not your model minority. We are not your model minority. Ending racism must be priority. Ending racism must be priority. We are not your model minority. We are not your model minority. Equity for all must be priority. Equity for all must be priority. We are not your model minority. We are not your hey! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! You racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! You racist cops have got to go! Ho, ho! Cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! All you cops have got to go! All you cops have got to go! All you cops have got to go! White supremacy has 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 got to go! Racist cops have 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 got to go! All you cops have got to go! All you cops have got to go! All you cops have got to go!
Sorry.
White supremacy has got to go! White supremacy has got to go! Stop making excuses for white violence! API will not be silent! Stop making excuses for white violence! API won't be silent! Stop making excuses for white violence! API won't be silent! We are not your model minority! We are not your model minority! Ending racism must be a priority! Ending racism must be priority! We are not your model minority! We are not your model minority! Equity for all must be a priority!
So for those of you just tuning in, we are live. We are in Seattle. This is a Stop the Model Minority Myth march in support of Asian and Pacific Islanders, also known as API. This was part of a rally.
Over these curbs here, so
This was
We
part
so
of an
appreciate
earlier rally, and now this is the march.
let's give them a shout out.
We're at a pause right now because we're waiting for the car brigade, which protects
I so
marches here in
appreciate that. I
Seattle
was doing car brigade for
from
a
car
bit
attacks.
until I had to hit a inconvenienced chud who didn't want to wait for the fucking marchers. So, and get this, he worked at Youth Care, probably still works there.
Youth Care,
For
you
what
don't
we
care!
hear, Youth Care collaborates with ICE. Oh,
We don't, something's going on. Something's going on.
speaking of car brigade having to do what they need to do.
Alright guys, let's move quickly.
Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Black, brown,
That's a car brigade vehicle.
all united in the same fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the same fight. Black,
So what's going right now? We're just waiting for the car brigade
Get some water,
to get
y'all.
sorted out. The car brigade had to do their thing for a moment. That's why you saw some people running and I started running. Then whoever it was decided they weren't going to drive through the car brigade. They chose wisely. And unfortunately, we're actually seeing more of this. The last incident, we have it on our TikTok, we have it on Malcontent News, the website, we have it on our YouTube channel. There was a carjacker, and they were on the run. They actually drove through the protest and hit someone in the bicycle brigade. They were arrested a few blocks later.
All right, let's get back on track here. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, all you cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, all you cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, all you cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, all you cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, all you cops have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go. White supremacy has got to go.
Whoa, it's going to be bright. We're marching right into the sun. Nothing I can do about it. Let me do. Rats.
This is what unity looks like. Show me what unity looks like. This is what unity looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what America looks like. This is what America looks like. Show me what America looks like. This is what America looks like. Show me what unity looks like. This is what unity looks like. Show me what unity looks like. This is what unity looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Stop making excuses for white violence. API will not be silent. Stop making excuses for white violence. API will not be silent. Stop making excuses for white violence. API won't be silent. Stop making excuses for white violence. API won't be silent. Stop making excuses for white violence. API won't be silent.
must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Equity for all must be priority.
Equity for all must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Solidarity must be priority.
Solidarity must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Ending racism must be priority.
Ending racism must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Solidarity must be priority.
Solidarity must be priority.
We are not your model minority.
We are not your model minority.
Who do we protect? API sex workers. Who do we protect?
API sex workers.
Who do we protect?
API sex workers.
Who do we protect?
API sex workers.
Who do we protect? API immigrants. Who do we protect?
API immigrants.
Who do we protect?
API immigrants.
Who do we protect? Who do we protect? API trans lives. Who do we protect?
API trans lives.
Who do we protect?
API trans lives.
Who do we protect?
API trans lives.
Who do we protect? API elders. Who do we protect?
API elders.
Who do we protect?
API elders.
Who do we protect?
API elders. Okay, one more that we should not forget. Massage parlor workers. Who do we protect? Massage parlor workers.
Who do we protect?
Massage parlor workers.
Who do we protect?
Massage parlor workers.
Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight.
Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight.
Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white, all united in the fight. Black, brown, Asian, white.
Sorry about that.
White supremacy is got to go. White supremacy is got to go.
God damn it.
You racist.
Give me 1 second here, y'all. There we go. Well, I wasn't going to do that one-handed. Boom, there we go.
those of you that are holding it's just one banner.
Jesse Terry banner is not going.
The Jesse Terry banner is staying, but we're going to tie the other banner. For all of these people in their daily commute, if everybody wants to come over onto the overpass here, we can make some space. The banner's right here, so that's the first step here. Come on over so they can see us. Line up so they can see us. Let's see if we can get some honks going.
Oh, shoot.
This would be a great time to grab some water out of the garbage truck. Or snacks if you need it. The car with the Fuck 12 sign on the back has snacks. You don't get no peace.
All right, there we go.
You don't get no peace. You don't get no justice.
Yeah.
If we don't get no
You can actually see all three letters are still there, barely.
we don't get no justice.
But the M is doing very well. All right, so they're getting ready to do a banner drop over I-5, Interstate 5 in Seattle, on the northbound facing lanes. Carefully, you will see where BLM was painted on Interstate 5 last year, and you can actually still see, despite the traffic that's been driving over it for months, the B and the M are basically there. The L has been about ground down by the traffic.
Enjoy this beautiful view of the water as we march for justice. No justice, no peace. No racist police. No justice, no peace. No racist police. No justice, no peace. No racist police.
Gotta put this down for one more second.
No justice, no peace. No racist ass police. No justice, no peace. No racist ass police. No racist ass police. No justice, no peace. No racist ass police. No justice, no peace. No racist ass police. No racist ass police.
For those of you just tuning in, we're live. We're in Seattle. This is the Stop the Model Minority Protected Support API, Asian Pacific Islanders March.
No racist ass police. No justice, no peace.
There was just a banner drop over I-5. And an absolutely spectacular view of the Smith Tower and Elliott Bay as we walk back into the International District.
Public safety hazard. Listen here, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen here, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen here, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen here, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Listen here, you fascist bastards. You're the public safety hazard. Show me what community looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what America looks like. This is what America looks like. Show me what America looks like. This is what America looks like. Show me what unity looks like. This is what unity looks like. Show me what unity looks like. This is what unity looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what
literally
community looks like. This
walking
is what community looks
the way I
like.
drove
Show me
in.
what America looks like.
I was going to say earlier, it's like I'm going to peel off because I parked, but
This is what America looks like. Show me
I think we're
what
basically
community
walking
looks
right where I
This is what
parked.
community looks like.
And I'll just
Show
be able
me
to
what
wrap it up.
community looks like. Show me what unity looks like. Show me what unity looks like. Show me what America looks like. Show me what America looks like.
So I want to do a chant that's one of my favorites from DBL, and maybe Cole would be willing to do this. So the one where housing is a human right. So
Yeah, we basically are just about where I parked.
Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Water is a human right.
Water is a human right.
Oil's not a human right.
Oil's not a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Water is a human right.
Water is a human right.
Oil's not a human right.
Oil's not a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Healthcare is a human right.
Water is a human right.
Water is a human right.
Oil's not a human right.
Oil's not a human right.
Housing is a human right. Healthcare is a human right.
Thank you. Hello, hello. Thank you for the shout out. We love the car brigade. All right. Let's see here. Let's see if I can see. To see. No, that's not the one I want. There we go. Whew. All right, give you a second. I gotta. There we go. And then I gotta turn these so you can kind of. So I'm sort of looking at both of them at the same time. So if you see me going like this, So he goes, hi TikTok, this is the malcontent. Hi YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, this is the malcontent. For people who've been asking, this was a march in support of Asian Pacific Islanders and against the concept of the model minority. When people say Asian, I think a lot of people think Chinese, Japanese, Korean. The reality is there are over 21 distinct races, nationalities, actually way more than that, but there's 21 ethno groups that represent Asian Pacific Islanders. And don't forget, many Pacific Islanders are America. You're from Guam? You're an American, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Asians as a group have only about 57% of the household wealth, mean, compared to white Americans. Some groups of Asians do economically well as a broad group, but there are others that are really disadvantaged and deal with systemic racism, not only among white America, but also within the Asian community. And that should be acknowledged. Now, I know, like I was seeing some comments like, oh, a bunch of white people telling how they think that black, first of all, this wasn't about black people. So ignorant comment number one. Ignorant comment number two, Seattle is only 2% black. The United States of America is 13% black. If you include black plus, the United States of America is about 15.4% black. Without white allies, nothing will change for black Americans. They're called, wait for it, TikTok. I'm not talking to someone over here, but I'm talking to someone over at TikTok. Wait for it, they're called, you ready? Minorities. That means there's less of them of you. So unless white people come out and support them, they'll always be minorities. But let's face it, that's what you want. And it scares you that just by simple numbers, birth death rate, you're going to be outnumbered in 15 to 20 years. And that scares the crap out of some of you. And you know why it scares the crap out of you? Because some of you are going, well, wait a minute, when we become the minorities, what happens if they treat us as badly as we treated them? I mean, you don't consciously think that, but let's face it, that's what it boils down to. So anyway, that's what this march was. Wow, they're at the bottom of the hill. This is actually a great shot. It's a great shot, and I have to be like, kind of, let's see here. Rear camera. No. Come on. Flip the camera. There we go. Zoom in. Zoom in. There you go. Great shot. It's a hella hill here, as you can see. And it's super bright because we're just pointing due west into the sun. Anyway, just wanted to share that shot with you. Flip the camera back around over here and get out of the road. Oh look, the auto club's here. Got an unmarked police unit following the protest. We'll just keep that there on the unmarked SPD unit. So we got an unmarked SPD unit following along. Because, you know, people standing up for their rights are scary, apparently, to the man. The man. Cute and cuddly boys, it's the man. I loved the psychotic penguins. Just rolled up here. Now there's a little something going on. You know, as a matter of fact, let me tweet this out. Give me a minute here. TikTok and here, let me do this so you're just not staring off into space. I got to, we're on a bunch of channels, so I'm just doing stuff on another channel. Give me a minute here, folks, because I was... All right, let me flip those cameras back around. They don't do it. They don't make it easy on TikTok to do that. They do make it easy. There we go. Hey, hey, and just like that, they're moving because the march is moving. All right, let's go back to my angle here, best as I can. All right, hello, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Hello back to you to TikTok. Anyway, we're wrapping up here for the evening. There's about 200 people. It looks like we dwindled down to maybe about 125. It's hot here today. I haven't had a chance. We were supposed to probably set or tie the record. It's really dry. We're super dry heat today. And I'm sure I'll be stunned if we didn't break the record because it is flipping hot today. There were some great speeches. There were some powerful speeches earlier. You can go back, check out the stream, rewatch the stream to see that stuff. If you're new to TikTok, give us a follow. We've been on TikTok technically in January, but we really didn't do anything until March. We thought we had it figured out. We were actually getting like really good clicks. They changed the algorithm and like, man, we're in shadow ban city right now, but we're working on that. We're talking to someone. And so give us a follow. If you're watching us for the first time on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, subscribe, like, share, follow. It's the easiest way that you can help independent media grow. You can also visit our website, malcontentnews.com. I believe malcontentnews.com is linked on every channel on social that we have, and we're also on Instagram. I really appreciate everybody watching. I love y'all for being malcontents. We're gonna broadcast tomorrow. We're doing back-to-back outdoor streams of this beautiful sun. We're gonna be broadcasting from Kirkland tomorrow from about 2 to 4 for a sit down and listen session. And so with that, I'm gonna say first to you, TikTok, malcontent out. And now I'm gonna say to you, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, malcontent out.